Hey guys, while Boss and I are out here, I do want to kind of go over some of the actual after use things I noticed about that Primos Surround View 180 blind. So after actually using it moose hunting a couple weeks ago, I think it was a couple weeks ago, I did notice a few flaws. But again, I'll kind of wrap that up at the end of this video too. But first thing I noticed was dusk and dawn. It's hard to see through, definitely hard to see through. Direct light, so if the sun rises, I actually had my blind facing east, and when that sun came out and was shining directly on the face of that blind, on the actual plasticky see-through portion of that wall, it was hard to see through. In fact, it was almost impossible. And the light was so bright and direct that I could actually see the camo pattern that's painted on the other side of it instead of being able to see through the wall. The next thing is rain. So we did get some rain out there, and the rain kind of filled in all of the screen holes, and the whole thing just became like a shining wall. I could not see through it whatsoever when there was rain on it, but you just give it a good flick, and then it was just fine. But I guess the biggest thing that I didn't like was the lighting. But had I changed the blind position, now that I know, after actually using this thing, good boy, after actually using it, I now know, okay, well, just don't set it up facing the sun, face it north-south so that the sunrise and sunset don't affect it, if that's possible. Me personally, I didn't notice an issue with height of the windows or shoot-through holes. That for me, I guess my camp chair might just be really low to the ground. I don't know. But it was totally fine for me. It was very comfortable in there. I had my blind shelf in there, my camp chair, my buddy heater. I had my tripod with my camera. I had a bipod and a backpack of gear. And like thermos of coffee, that kind of stuff. And I had more than enough room in there for rifle for one person. Now it is a smaller blind than, I don't know, the average one you'll see at Cabela's. But it's definitely not the smallest blind on the market. 48 by 48 base, and then it flares out in the middle with the hubs for a little bit of extra shoulder room and elbow room. It was totally fine, and I would be very comfortable using that for archery as well, but just one person. So two people can't use it. It is a one-person blind for archery. Two people could use it for rifle, but it would be pretty cramped. And your shooting view, your shooting field, would be pretty narrow. Probably, I don't know, if I had to guess, only 45 degrees at the most. So per person. But one person, it's fantastic for space. I kind of like the fact that it's a bit smaller. You can tuck it in better, or it doesn't take up as much material to brush it in. If you're doing turkey hunting or leaving it out for an extended period of time where you want to brush it in with grasses and branches and stuff like that, it's a lot less to brush in, especially because half the wall is, or half the blind is see-through, so you're really only going to have to brush in some of the roof and the sides. One thing I'll say with this is the flaps that cover the actual open windows, they are black, and that to me that's pretty silly of Primos to do that. They should have had a camo pattern on them that matched, so that when you do put the windows up, it's not a big black blob. That is my actual only real complaint, but I mean, I'm going to solve that by just sewing or gluing on a camo fabric. Big deal. I shouldn't have to do that. Yeah, of course, I shouldn't have to do that. You're right, but whatever. I mean, they're going to release more versions of this blind that are going to continually get better and better and better. I'm sure they've already got all the enhancements they're going to make for the next revision done. Here's the one thing. All the critics can say that this blind is junk and it's not good. No matter what, it's still better than not being able to see through your walls. you can see in the clips that I'm showing, or during moose hunting, that you can see through these walls and you can see movement. And I would have been able to see a moose. I'll be able to see turkey and deer through this just fine. Now that I know placement is pretty key, so the light isn't direct, and I know that if it rains before I want to look through the walls, I'm going to have to flick off the water. And I know that it's a one-person blind. Okay, great. There's still a place in the world for the world of hunting for this blind. Again, the only real flaw that I know of, or that I can't get past without modifying this thing, is the black windows, the black screens, or the black window covers, where when I've got the window covered, it's a black blob. I don't like that. I will modify that myself. But the rest is just placement and, behavior change. If your expectation of this blind is to be able to see through half of this blind with complete perfect clarity, you're dreaming. That's not even a thing. Even good blinds with open windows, when you put the screen up, just the shoot-through screen, or whether you've got the Hunter XL blind, the 3-person blind, the Ameristep brick house, I've got all these. And no matter what, when you put the screen up to keep the mosquitoes out, or to hide some of your motion, but yet you can still see through that screen, you still can't see great at dusk and dawn. If you've got direct light on that screen, it's not great. It does reduce your visibility. So really the only difference is you can partially see through this wall. And it does make a big difference. Believe me, it does. And so again, if your expectation is to be able to look through this like it's a one-way mirror, not happening. Absolutely not happening. But no blind opening hole, no blind screen can actually give you perfect 100% clarity as if you're looking through an open window. So to me, this is still way better than a normal blind with just your triangle hole or rectangular holes to shoot through and to look through, because the rest of those blinds is just a black inside wall, whereas this is not. This does give you some sight outside through these walls. It's not perfect, it's not 100%, but it never will be. So I think it's fantastic. I do think this is still a really good blind that does give you a broader field of view without having to move around and poke your head out all 3, 4, 5 different windows. So in the end, I still give this blind a thumbs up, considering the fact that your options are only being able to look out triangular windows or rectangular windows, or being able to look through. There's blinds where it's got you can drop down the whole side curtain and you will get a panoramic 180 view. If you put the screens up on that panoramic view, you're back to square one. You're still not getting perfect visibility. I'm going to give it a 6.5 to 7 out of 10 for 3 reasons. 1, placement does matter for the direct light, and to get the best visibility out of what it can do, you do have to have it placed right so there's no direct sunlight on the face of it. Second reason is size. It is a bit smaller than I'm used to, but certainly not the smallest on the market. It's great for one person. The third is the black windows. The black windows, when you fold up the window covers and it's a big black blob, that has to change, and I will be modifying my blind for that. To me, it's still not worth returning. It still has its place, definitely has its place in the hunting world, and like I said, it is better, no matter how you look at it, for one person who's wanting visibility. It is better than a normal blind to have as much movement masking, and still have visibility. So that's my re-review after actual use. I'm still happy with it. Sure, it's not as flawless as I originally wanted it to be, but after actually using it, it's definitely still a usable, good blind that I feel I'm going to be using more than my other ones, just because even though the visibility isn't perfect through the surround view walls, you will still see movement. It will still clue you in to maybe peek out one of the windows when you see movement, to see if that's, if what's come out or what's moving is what you're going after for a hunt. Especially when, and all the hunters know this, when you're sitting there and you're just kind of blankly staring forward, and in your peripheral vision you do see some movement, it clues you in. Well, this just gives you a much larger area to see that movement, to clue you into, okay, get your binoculars, let's take a look. Let's see what it is, right? So 100%, I still recommend this blind for any person who wants to go one-person hunting, who can be conscious of blind placement, and who's willing to modify the flaps to be camo on the inside. So that's it. That's the review. To summarize, as basically it's still better than looking through a blind that doesn't have see-through walls, that's just a black inside, and having a screen over the triangular, rectangular holes. This is still better than that. And, this is, of course, just my opinion. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with that, but that's fine. This is my opinion, and I'm going to have many more hunting adventures posted up here in this blind. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed.